Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about one of the most famous heroines in classic literature, Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables, written by Lucy Maud Montgomery in 1908. At first glance, this looks like a simple children's story about an orphan girl living on a farm in Canada. But the reason this novel survived for more than a century is because it's really about loneliness, imagination, identity, and the human need to belong somewhere. So today, let's explore Anne's story and why readers around the world still love this character. The story takes place in the late 19th century on Prince Edward Island in Canada. This setting matters a lot. The island is peaceful, rural, and deeply traditional. Society expects people, especially girls, to behave properly, quietly, and modestly. Into this world arrives Anne Shirley. Anne is an orphan who has spent her childhood moving between orphanages and temporary families who usually wanted her more for work than for love. She never had a stable home or felt she truly belonged anywhere. At the beginning of the story, an older brother and sister, Matthew and Marilla Cuthbert, decide to adopt a boy to help around their farm called Green Gables. But by mistake, Anne is sent instead. This accident changes everyone's lives. And this opening already reveals one of the central ideas of the novel: sometimes the greatest changes in life happen completely unexpectedly. Anne Shirley is not presented as a perfect child. She talks too much. She is overly emotional. She daydreams constantly. She makes dramatic speeches. And she often embarrasses herself. But these traits are exactly what made readers love her. Anne survives loneliness through imagination. When she walks through nature, she gives places magical names like the Lake of Shining Waters or the White Way of Delight. This matters because Anne's imagination is not childish nonsense. She transforms the world because reality so often has been painful for her. That's why readers connect with her emotionally. Anne is not escaping reality, she is trying to create beauty in a life that lacked love and stability. Two of the most important characters are Matthew and Marilla Cuthbert. Matthew is shy, gentle, and emotionally kind. Marilla is strict, practical, and emotionally reserved. At first, Marilla wants to send Anne back. But gradually, Anne changes both of them. This is one of the novel's deepest ideas: love can transform people at any age. Matthew especially becomes one of the most beloved characters because he sees Anne's worth immediately. He understands that beneath all her dramatic behavior is a child desperate to be loved. One famous scene is when Matthew buys Anne a dress with puffed sleeves. To modern readers this may sound small, but symbolically it means everything. For the first time, someone notices Anne's feelings and wants her to feel beautiful and accepted. It's one of the moments where Anne truly begins to feel that Green Gables is home. A major part of the story involves Anne making mistakes. She accidentally dyes her hair green. She gets Diana drunk by mistake after giving her currant wine instead of raspberry cordial. She breaks a slate over Gilbert Blythe's head after he calls her carrots. These scenes are funny, but they also reveal Anne's sensitivity. Gilbert Blythe teasing her about her red hair hurts deeply because Anne already feels insecure about herself. And this becomes another key message of the novel: many emotional reactions come from hidden insecurity. Anne desperately wants to be accepted and admired. Every embarrassment feels enormous to her because she spent years feeling unwanted. But the novel never punishes Anne for being emotional or imaginative. Rather, it suggests that individuality has value, even if society initially rejects it. Anne's closest friend is Diana Barry. Diana represents loyalty, warmth, and emotional safety. Their friendship became iconic because it captures the intensity of childhood friendship, where emotions feel absolute and eternal. But as the novel continues, Anne slowly matures. She becomes more disciplined in school, academically ambitious, and increasingly thoughtful. One of the central tensions in the story is this: can Anne grow up without losing her imagination? That question is really what the novel is about. Growing up tends to make people more practical, more socially acceptable, and less emotionally open. Montgomery shows that maturity does not require abandoning wonder. Ultimately, Anne learns balance. Gilbert begins as Anne's rival in school. They constantly compete academically. But Gilbert's role becomes symbolic over time. He represents someone who recognizes Anne as an equal. At a time when many stories expected girls simply to become wives, Anne is presented as intelligent, ambitious, and intellectually competitive. This was surprisingly progressive for 1908. Their rivalry also helps Anne mature emotionally. Instead of wanting only admiration, she gradually learns respect, patience, and forgiveness, qualities that later allow her relationship with Gilbert to grow into love. Near the end of the novel, the tone changes dramatically. Matthew dies suddenly. This moment is deeply important because it marks the end of Anne's childhood. Until then, Green Gables feels warm, humorous, and idealized. Matthew's death introduces reality and loss. Anne decides to stay at Green Gables instead of leaving for further studies so she can support Marilla. And this decision reveals how much she has changed. At the beginning of the story, Anne longs mainly for love and belonging. By the end, she is capable of responsibility and sacrifice. Importantly, she does not lose herself completely. The novel ends with Anne looking toward the future with hope. And that final feeling, optimism despite hardship, is one reason readers remember the book so fondly. So why did this novel become a worldwide classic? First, Anne feels incredibly human. She is flawed, insecure, emotional, imaginative, and deeply sincere. Readers see parts of themselves in her. Second, the novel balances humor and sadness beautifully. It can be funny one moment and emotionally devastating the next. Third, Montgomery created an unforgettable atmosphere. Prince Edward Island feels almost magical because the world is filtered through Anne's imagination. And finally, the novel speaks to a universal desire, the hope that somewhere in the world there is a place where we truly belong. That emotional idea transcends culture and time. Because the book became enormously successful, Lucy Maud Montgomery wrote many sequels following and through adulthood. These include Anne of Avonlea, Anne of the Island, Anne's House of Dreams. Readers were able to follow Anne from childhood all the way into adult life, marriage, and motherhood. This long emotional journey helped readers feel that Anne was almost a real person growing alongside them. More than a century later, Anne of Green Gables still matters because it understands something fundamental about human nature. People need imagination. People need acceptance. People need connection. Anne Shirley begins life as someone unwanted and uncertain of her place in the world. But through friendship, love, education, mistakes, and loss, she slowly builds an identity of her own. And perhaps the most beautiful message of the novel is this: growing up does not mean abandoning wonder. It means learning how to carry that wonder into reality with courage and compassion. And that is why Anne Shirley remains one of literature's most beloved heroines. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which classic novel you'd like to explore next.